We're back with another edition of Rational Wrestling Talk. And we're going to be talking about the bad booking, the inconsistencies of MJF's babyface run in AEW. Now, I personally think that his babyface run has fell flat. And I do not see it recovering anytime soon. I just think they should turn him back heel because he's best suited as a heel. And he's a better bad guy than he is a good guy. And that's just my opinion. When it comes to his babyface run, I've seen some inconsistencies and just things that did not make any sense to me watching MJF in the past couple months. As a babyface, you're not supposed to run away from fights. Okay? As a babyface in pro wrestling, you are not supposed to talk down onto other babyfaces and out of nowhere just start beef, right, with another babyface. As a babyface in pro wrestling, you're not supposed to be punked out by a heel. So these cases that I'm talking about, when it comes to Wardlow, his interaction with Hangman Page and Samoa Joe. So let me get this straight. You're the world champion, the top guy in AEW. The show is basically booked around MJF, if you really think about it, right? He is their top guy. How is it, if you're this babyface hero, how is it that you're running away from a fight from Samoa Joe? How is it that you're trying to run away from a title match? Samoa Joe comes out and tells MJF that we had a deal, that we had an agreement that if I filled in for Adam Cole for the tag team title match at Full Gear, that you were going to give me an AEW world title shot. MJF, wanted to be, he decided to, punk out. He decided to beat around the bush and ultimately did not want nothing to do with Samoa Joe. So you tell me, is that how a babyface is supposed to behave? Does a babyface behave in that manner to where they start backing away from a fight? They start backing away from a challenge? How is it that you're backing away from a guy? You're running away from a guy that you previously beat months prior. Like MJF just beat Samoa Joe at Grand Slam. So now he's deciding to run away from the fight. And it does not want nothing to do with Samoa Joe. Okay, so another instance is with Hangman Adam Page. So how is it that another babyface is just going to insult and just start beefing with another babyface? Mind you, he starts accusing Hangman Page of being the devil. Which, if you look at it from a storyline perspective, it makes no sense. Because, first of all, there has been zero interaction between MJF and Adam Page. Those two have not interacted at all since, I guess, their first match back at, I want to say, Double or Nothing in 2019. I think that was their first encounter. And after that, they never They never locked horns after that. They never interacted again up until this backstage segment weeks ago, where MJF is, basically insulting Hangman Adam Page, starting beef with him out of nowhere, beefing with him, accusing him of being the devil. It just makes no sense that as a babyface, you're trying to pick a fight with another babyface. And then you need essentially a heel. Samoa Joe is technically a heel. You need a heel to separate you and the other babyface from going at it. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. No sense. You mean to tell me that MJF can't fight his own battles? You mean to tell me that Samoa Joe needs to step in whenever MJF is about to get into a fight? He's your world champion. He is he is essentially your top guy. And he needs Samoa Joe to prevent him from getting into a fight. He needs Samoa Joe to back him away. He needs backup. That's crazy. It makes no sense. So let's get into this other case. Wardlow. Wardlow punks out MJF backstage, right? Slams him against the wall like he's a jabroni, nobody, jobber. That's something that an extra backstage, if you got into the way of a wrestler that was angry on a rampage, you would just get the full force of his anger, right? And just get tossed aside like a damn twig, or get slammed into a wall if you got in the way of an angry heel, right? Well, in this case, Wardlow was angry. And then he just shoved MJF into the wall. And this dude does nothing. Absolutely nothing. He is scared to death of Wardlow, right? Now I understand that Wardlow beat MJF at Double or Nothing last year, and he squashed him, essentially. But you would think in that time span of not facing Wardlow, not even interacting with him, you would think between that time and now, you would think MJF would have grown some balls, right, as a character, and stand up to Wardlow and fight back. This man shoves you into the wall and grabs you by the collar, and you don't do nothing about it, and you're supposed to be a babyface, you're supposed to be the world champion, you're supposed to be the top guy, and someone else is making you look weak. You're being like, okay, if MJF was going to get his ass whooped backstage, at least have him fight Wardlow. At least have him fight back against Wardlow. Throw some punches. Yes, Wardlow will get the best of him. He'll beat him up backstage, but at least MJF put up a fight and wasn't going to be punked out. That's the inconsistency, the bad booking of his babyface run that I'm talking about. Is he's being shown in situations that makes him look weak, that makes him look like a cowardly heel, right? Like a chicken shit heel. That's how he's being presented as. So I think it's backwards that if we're trying to tell the audience that we should cheer for MJF, but he's backing down from Samoa Joe. He's trying to run away from this, fighting Samoa Joe at the pay-per-view. After even though he beat him, months prior, he's starting beef with Hangman Adam Page, who is a babyface, right? Insulting another babyface. And it's like he just interrupted his interview time out of nowhere, right? And then he's being punked out by Wardlow. And he looks scared to death of Wardlow and doesn't fight back. So I don't know if they're trying to tell us, to kind of telegraph that MJF is actually the devil. I don't know how well that would go over with a lot of people. I can see people burying this storyline if it turns out that MJF is the devil, and he was the devil all along. He was the one orchestrating all these attacks and assaults backstage and whatnot. I just don't see it going over well if it turns out to be MJF. Now, as to who I think is the devil, a lot of people, well, some people are probably saying, it's Adam Cole, which, if you look at the stature of the guy in the devil's mask, you look at there's a physique there, right? A bigger stature. It's not Adam Cole. I can tell you right now, that's not Adam Cole. There's no way. Some people will probably say it's Jack Perry, which would be interesting because he's been away for a while. He's been suspended. I think that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they would write that. I just don't see it being Jack Perry, though. If it turned out to be him, I would not be complaining. But if it's, man, the only one I can really think of is Wardlow. It could possibly be Wardlow. Because if you think about it, there's history between MJF and Wardlow. Like, this dude squashed MJF at Double or Nothing, right? For all intents and purposes, Wardlow should be getting a shot at the AEW World Championship. I think he should be the one to end MJF's title reign. I think he's the one. He's Wardlow is the only guy that is really considered a top guy in AEW that MJF has not beaten. Some will say Darby Allin should be the one to end his reign, or Samoa Joe, or maybe an Adam Cole, whoever, right? I can see it being Wardlow. Because look at their history. Wardlow's AEW career began with MJF in All Elite Wrestling, right? That's how his career began, with MJF. MJF recruited him, brought Wardlow in as his bodyguard. He was originally MJF's bodyguard. And then toward the very end, he was treating Wardlow like crap, essentially. And he got sick and tired of MJF and wound up turning against him and squashed him at Double or Nothing. So from that alone, it should be Wardlow ending his title reign. And if he winds up being the devil all along, I think it would make the most sense from a long-term storyline perspective. I would not rule out a Jack Perry. That would be interesting to see how that plays out. Right? But just by the history alone with Wardlow and MJF, and look, Wardlow, he's been after MJF for a while now. He's had his eyes set on MJF for a while. So you already know that they're gearing a future, matchup between MJF and Wardlow for the title. You could see it coming a mile away. You know, essentially Tony Khan is going to book that match again, most likely for Revolution. So don't be surprised if it turns out that Wardlow is the devil and he's the one that ends MJF's title reign. I could see it happening. I could see it happening. But if it turns out that MJF is the devil all along, I think this is going to fall flat. And when it comes to AEW as a company, it's not doing too well. It's not. AEW is cold as ice. No momentum. There's nothing interesting going on. There's nothing for the audience or for the viewers to really sink their teeth into or to invest in. A lot of people are not watching AEW right now. It's not the show to watch at the moment. But this is the only storyline that is interesting. That's the only storyline that AEW got going on right now that's worth giving a damn about. So if this flops, if this storyline flops and they fuck it up, best believe people are going to bury it. They're going to bury it. And if I'm Tony Khan, I'm not going on Twitter for weeks on end. I'm not going on Twitter because this man is going to be offended when he sees the tweets. Because you know people are going to, if they fuck this up, if they fuck up the devil storyline, which is their main storyline, they're going to feel the wrath of wrestling Twitter. That's for sure. They're going to feel the wrath of wrestling Twitter. So they better not mess this up. Will they mess it up? I could see them messing it up. I could see Tony Khan, flopping this, and, I could see this whole storyline just flopping. It's the only storyline that they have going on right now that's worth investing into. So they really can't afford to mess up this storyline. It has to have a worthy payoff. And what's the payoff? We don't know. We're going to have to find out, but hopefully it's good enough for people to want to tune in the Dynamite after World's End, So that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here. That's my thoughts and opinions on MJF's babyface run. I think it's flopped. Him as a babyface just does not work at all, man. It doesn't work. There's too many inconsistencies. There's just overall bad booking. Like, as a wrestling fan growing up, you knew who was the clear babyface and who was the clear heel, right? You knew the characteristic traits of the babyface and the characteristic traits of a heel in pro wrestling. It wasn't hard to figure out. Now it's today's pro wrestling is not really black and white when it comes to heels and baby faces. In AEW, right? In AEW, I have a hard time figuring out with most wrestlers on that roster. I'm having a hard time deciphering who's the baby face and who's the heel. If I have to try and figure out who's the baby face and who's the heel, and I can't decipher which one is what, you have a problem. As a company, you have a problem. Because in wrestling, you need a clear-cut babyface and a clear-cut heel. You have that in WWE. Cody Rhodes is the definition of a white meat babyface. It doesn't get more simple than that. With Dominic Mysterio, he is a clear-cut heel, right? The definition of a bastard heel. That's dirty. That is the scum of the earth. You know that he is a clear-cut heel, right? It's pretty evident. He gets the biggest heel reaction, the biggest boos. Cody arguably gets the biggest cheers from the crowd. With AEW, you really can't tell the difference. You can't tell who's a babyface and who's a heel anymore. You can't tell. It's not black and white like it used to be anymore. You know? It's like 1 week this guy's a heel, next week, 1 week this guy's a babyface, the other week he's a heel. The other week he's wrestling as a face, next week he's wrestling as a heel. It's very confusing. And it's confusing the audience. Like, who do we cheer for? Who do we boo? So it's just very confusing. That's something that Tony Khan needs to tighten up, man. Is who is your clear babyface and who is your clear heel? Figure that out. Because we don't know. We don't know anymore. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. This is Irrational Wrestling Mark, another edition of Rational Wrestling Talk, and I'm out. Peace.